If you've ever finished a piece of writing, read it back and thought, that doesn't quite sound like me, I want you to stay with me for the next few minutes, because that feeling is one of the most common things I hear from new writers. And it's not a talent problem. It's not even a writing problem. It's a voice problem. And it has a very simple fix. Let me tell you about a mistake I made for longer than I'd like to admit. For a period of my writing life, I got seduced by online tools that promised to improve my headlines and titles. You know the kind of thing. Paste in your idea, get back something optimized, something that's been tested and proven to get clicks. And you know what? Looking back at those titles now, I can spot them a mile off. They don't sound like me at all. They sound like everyone else. Why? Because they were written by a tool that had studied everyone else, averaged them out, and handed me back something perfectly acceptable and completely forgettable. Our good old friend, Mr. Beige Bilge. That's the trap, and it's not just headline tools that set it. It's every piece of advice that tells you to write a certain way, to open with a hook structure like this, to close with a call to action that sounds like that, to provide value in a format that's been field tested by someone whose voice is nothing like yours. You absorb all of it, you sit down to write, and what comes out is a weird hodgepodge of everyone you've been trying to learn from. Technically correct and completely lifeless. Now, you might be thinking, but surely learning from other writers is how you improve. Of course it is, up to a point. The mistake isn't studying other voices. The mistake is never coming back to your own. Here's how I know when a new writer has found theirs. When I'm working with someone as their editor or coach, I can usually tell within about a paragraph or so whether they're writing from the heart or performing for an imaginary audience. The giveaway isn't spelling or grammar. It's something more subtle than that. I ask myself one question. Would this person actually say this out loud over a coffee? Because you can always tell when the answer is no. The phrasing is slightly too formal. The sentences are slightly too constructed. There's a layer of performance between the writer and the reader, and your reader can feel it, even if they can't name it. I remember a short series I wrote on Medium early in my online writing. They were true stories from my everyday life, little quirks and mysteries I'd noticed in the world around me. One of them was about a man I used to see jogging past the school where I picked up my stepdaughter. He would run along the street, fully decked out in pseudo-military gear and a massive backpack. And then, without warning, he would simply stop. Freeze. Stare into space, as if he were a video game character whose player had put the controller down for a moment. I described him standing there with one leg raised aloft like a horse awaiting the farrier. And a lovely, kind reader left a comment that said, "Everything you describe is fascinating, and you have such a way of telling the story. Never stop writing this way." I didn't learn that sentence from a headline tool. I didn't learn it from a writing course. It came from paying attention to the world around me and then describing it the way I would describe it, specifically, peculiarly, in the way that's only mine. And that's the version of you your readers are waiting for. And in just a moment, I'm going to give you the single most effective test I know to find out whether your writing sounds like you or like someone else. So, How do you actually get there? How do you hear your own voice coming from the page? Here is my number one writing tip. It's the one I give to every single writer I work with, without exception. Once you've written your piece, read it out loud from your mobile screen, not from your laptop, not from a printout, from your phone. Why your phone? Because that's almost certainly how your readers are going to experience it. Small screen, short attention, reading on the go. If it flows on a mobile screen, it flows. And why out loud? Because the moment you start reading your own words aloud, the clunky phrases announce themselves immediately. The sentences you would never actually say to another human stick out like a sore thumb. You can hear the performance. You can hear where you stopped being yourself. Wherever it feels unnatural to say, rewrite it until it doesn't. That's it. That's the whole tip. And it costs nothing except 2 minutes and a little bit of honesty with yourself. Tell you something, your readers aren't actually looking for a writer. They just want you, your stories, your experiences, the specific, peculiar, unhurried version of you that would describe a jogger freezing in the street as a video game character, waiting for his player to come back. No tool generates that sentence. No course teaches it. It's already there in the way you see the world and the way you tell a story. So, stop trying to sound like a writer. You already sound like yourself. It's time to let that be enough. If you'd like a practical starting point to get your first newsletter issue written in your own voice, without the overwhelm and without the performance, the free New Writer Bundle is waiting for you. The link is down in the description below. It's the map that gets you from I've got something to say to actually saying it. And if this week's theme here on YouTube has been resonating with you, the idea that your best content is already inside you, just waiting to be recognized, this video is exactly where to go next. Thanks for watching, and as always, the very best of luck with your writing. Cheers.